Hi guys, I'm Bailee. So this is kind of new for me. I've been sharing my life with the internet for a really long time now. I've had a pretty stable blog going for the last, I think, 3 years now, but I've never really done this whole recording myself thing, so we'll see how this goes. I kind of just wanted to do a little introductory thing first. To just kind of give you guys a little bit of backstory about me, about my life, about why I'm doing this, about why now, and kind of just the things I've been going through. My whole life, I've been one of those kids who kind of never really fit in. I mean, I had friends growing up, of course. I had a lot of really good friends, but I never really felt like I was a part of anything. If that makes sense. I always kind of felt like I was on the outside. And even until this day, I've always kind of felt like that friend that, not that anybody ever disliked me. I mean, maybe they did, I don't know. But, I always felt like kind of everybody liked me, but not that everybody necessarily, like, would miss me if I was gone, if that makes sense. So I always kind of felt like, you know, people liked that I was around, like, people enjoyed my company, I felt like, but nobody was like, oh, you know, if I wasn't here, people would be like, oh, like, I wish Bailee was here. I never felt like that at all. I always felt like I was kind of putting more of myself out there than I was necessarily getting back. And it didn't help that, I mean, I've been overweight my whole life, except for a little bit a few years ago, but we'll get to that. And growing up, it's hard to be, you know, the fat kid or the fat friend or whatever, and I was always one of those girls who had friends who were, you know, toothpicks, and I was definitely, you know, always the odd one out, and that was really hard for me. And I mean, I remember being a kid, being, you know, 10 years old and laying in my bed at night, you know, just hoping and praying and wishing upon everything that I would just, like, wake up and magically be like all of my friends. And, you know, obviously that never happened. And, you know, I don't blame anyone, for the way I look. I mean, it's me, it's my decision. It's my bad choices that led me here. And I definitely don't, you know, blame my parents or blame, you know, my environment or whatever. I mean, I think that had definitely factored into it for sure. But, you know, it's me. It's my choices, and I don't like to blame anyone else for that. That being said, I mean, it's harder when you grow up around it, for sure. I mean, my whole family is basically overweight. You know, there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, it's basically everyone. And that was really, really hard. So I guess moving into, I guess, what I would consider the start of this journey, which would take me back to about June of 2010. Kind of a long time ago, a little over 3 years ago. In June of 2010, I started running. And it's kind of one of those, I've always wanted to be a runner. Like, I've always admired runners. I've always thought that they were, you know, super awesome and dedicated, and I always kind of wanted to be like that. So I guess as a kid and as a teenager, whenever I thought of, you know, losing weight and getting fit and, you know, being this better version of myself, I always, like, connected that to running in a way, I guess. So I started running that summer, and, you know, I definitely wasn't, like, as consistent with it as I probably could have been or should have been, but I would run maybe, like, 2 or 3 times a week. And I guess I was more conscious of what I was eating, and I was, you know, counting calories, sort of. You know, I wasn't very strict about it, and I was just kind of, I guess, being more aware. And nothing much was changing, really. I moved into my own apartment that summer, for the first time, and it's the first time I've ever essentially, I guess, lived on my own. And I live by myself. I was finally able to, you know, cook all my own meals Even though I still eat dinner with my parents a lot, I was able to kind of stock my kitchen with healthy foods, and if I didn't want it there, like, it didn't have to be there, and it wasn't like I was trying to lose weight and there were, you know, a package of cookies in the kitchen, because I just didn't put them there. So that was definitely helpful for me at first, and I guess that was kind of why, that was kind of my, like, why now moment. That was why I decided that point in time was the best time in my life to, like, finally do this thing that I've always wanted to do. It wasn't until August, the beginning of August, that I really kind of got, I guess, like, hardcore into it. I started being a lot more strict about counting my calories, like, not in, like, an obsessive kind of way, or anything like that. Just, I was more relaxed. Like, I did a lot more of estimating, I guess, previous to that in the summer. And then at the beginning of August, I finally decided, okay, like, this is not really working. At least not how I wanted it to. So I kind of tied down the reins a little bit, and I got a little more strict about it, and I made sure that I was, you know, accurately counting all my calories, and I started working out like 4 or 5 times a week, sometimes even 6 times a week, instead of 2 or 3. And I kept running, and it started to work. You know, the weight just kind of melted off, basically. So I started right about 205 at the beginning of August. I guess by, like, Thanksgiving, I had gotten down to about 160, which was, you know, awesome. It was fantastic. And I kind of hovered, like, I hit a little bit of a plateau there, hovered there, basically till the end of the year. And then in January, I finally kind of started losing weight again, and I got down to about 145. That happened right around spring break of 2011. I had just ran my first 5K, and I was in the middle of training for my first half marathon / full marathon. My body really liked being 145 as a distance runner. It was a good weight for me. I got to the point where I could kind of eat whatever I wanted to, and with the amounts that I was running, because I was training for such long distances, I got to the point where I could basically eat whatever I wanted, and I would maintain. I think I gained all of about 2 or 3 pounds between March and October. Like I said, I was training for my first half marathon, which I ran at the end of April that year. And then I was supposed to run my first full marathon in June. That ended up not happening. So I kept running, kept training throughout the entire year until October. October 23rd, that was my first full marathon. It was great, but it was kind of like the after was really hard on me. You know, I had essentially been training for this race for 9 or 10 months. I had been running for over a year now. Like, it was just something that I did all the time. And, like, all of my spare time was thinking about, you know, what race was I going to do next? What was I going to train for next? What was I going to do? What was the next step? And for a long time, for so long, really, it was that marathon. And I finished the marathon, and it was almost like, what do I do now? Like, where do I go from here? And I honestly had no idea. I've been running probably 40 or 50 miles a week for, you know, at least 6 months at this point. And that takes a lot out of you. And so when I finished that first marathon, I was like, even though I was already registered for a second marathon, I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks after that, I kind of slacked off for sure. And that's kind of where my entire downfall happened. I didn't stop running, but instead of running 40 or 50 miles a week, I was running maybe 10. I only ran once or twice a week. I didn't enjoy it like I did while I was training for that first race. The main problem was I kept eating like I was running 50 miles a week, and I was not. And it did not take long at all, like at all, for that weight to come back on. I had lost about 60 pounds at that point, a little over 60, when I ran my first marathon. it was kind of one of those things with every, you know, every 5 pounds, I was like, okay, this has to stop now. Like, I can't gain back anymore. Because I always told myself, like, I would never be one of those people who lost all the weight, put in all that hard work, and then just essentially gave it up. So every 5 pounds or so, I would be like, alright, this is it. Like, it ends today. It wasn't until that April. It was right after my birthday. I had gained back, I don't know, I was probably at like 170 at this point. So I gained back about like 25 pounds maybe. And I fully started to kind of analyze my eating habits. And I kind of started to look back at my entire life. Like, even growing up. It took a long time and it took a lot of research. And it took a lot of listening to other people talk about it, reading books about it, all that. And I finally kind of self-diagnosed myself, I guess, with binge eating disorder. It's something I realized that I've basically been suffering from my entire life. Sometimes it's been definitely harder than others, for sure. And I've gotten to points where I guess I know what works better for me as far as like overcoming it. And I know the less I focus on it, the better off I am. Like, I've noticed that if I'm constantly thinking like, oh my god, I can't binge, oh my god, I can't binge, like, that's when it's gonna happen. If I don't think about it, it definitely won't happen as much. And I'm not saying that, like, if I don't think about it, then I'll eat perfectly healthy and everything will be fine, because that's not the case. Right after I kind of diagnosed myself with it, I was really conscious of binging, and that's when I started to kind of realize that the more I thought about it, the more I did it. And since then, I've definitely, like, not thought about it as much. I don't really think about it at all anymore, honestly. And I do binge occasionally, but definitely not like I used to. Like, it used to feel like this completely out of control situation. Like, I didn't even feel like I had control over my own body. Like, it just happened. And it was like I was shoving food into my face, and I just couldn't even stop myself. And I'm thinking in my head, like, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? And no matter what I thought or what I did, like, I just couldn't stop it. And that does not happen as much anymore. You know, every once in a while it will. And now it's more, I feel like it's more a bad habit. So I guess that brings me to now. I have, like I said, completely gained back everything I lost, plus a little bit. Yeah, that's really hard to say. Like I said, I definitely slacked on the whole running thing for a long time. I ran a lot of races, really untrained for them. I ran 3 marathons and 3 half marathons, completely untrained. Like, completely. I started out, I ran the Chicago Marathon back in October of last fall, completely untrained. I mean, I'd honestly probably ran maybe 30 miles in the months leading up to the Chicago Marathon, which obviously is not good. But I did it, and I actually finished in like 6.5 hours, which is way better than I thought I would. So that was in October, and then right after that I ran the Rock and Roll St. Louis Marathon, completely untrained, which was like, honestly, I think not the weekend after, but 2 weeks after. So that was only 2 weeks in between. And then didn't run at all. And then in the beginning of January, I ran the Disney half marathon, followed by the Disney full marathon the next day, completely untrained. And you would think I would have learned after all of that, but I didn't. And I ran 2 half marathons in May, completely untrained. It was kind of finally in Fargo, North Dakota. That was the last half marathon I ran. That was in the middle of May. And it was kind of, you know, you come to those moments where you're like, this is it. Like, this is rock bottom, and this has to be the end. That was definitely that moment for me. So I've been regularly running since then. Actually, my dad just signed up for his first half marathon, which I will also be running with him. So we've been doing a really good job of training together. Okay, well, I say we've been doing a really good job. We've been doing an okay job of training. We've been running 3 or 4 times a week, pretty much all summer. We definitely haven't gotten in enough long runs, for sure. But we've been doing pretty well, been pretty consistent. Okay, my other thing, I guess. So I am moving, I guess, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I'm essentially moving to Europe in January 5th. I am leaving the United States, and I will be backpacking through Europe for basically all of next year. My plan is to come home maybe like the week before Christmas. My plan is to run the Paris Marathon while I am in Europe. It's actually, I think, 2 weeks before my birthday, and I will be in Paris anyway for my birthday, and I am going to be, yeah, hopefully running in that race. And it's kind of, I want it to be, you know, I want to be fully trained, I want to be as in shape as I possibly can, I want to do as well as I possibly can, and kind of use that as my getting back on track. So I guess that's kind of the goal, and I feel like this video is really, really long now, so I apologize. And, you know, kudos to you if you're still watching this. Anyway, I kind of just wanted to do something different this time. And like I said, I've been blogging. I have my Tumblr, which you probably know if you're watching this. I have my Tumblr that I've had for actually exactly 3 years now. I started it on August 31st of 2010. So my blog just turned 3 yesterday. I'll keep blogging on there just like I always have. I just kind of wanted to add something different this time to kind of keep me, I guess, more accountable. And definitely all of these will not be this long, for sure. You know, and I can't guarantee that I'll be like this. Like, some of them might be 30 seconds that I, you know, shoot on my phone or whatever. And they probably won't all even be, you know, weight loss related and, or, you know, life related or whatever. It's probably just going to be whatever I feel at the moment. I'm not going to promise anything because it won't happen. But my goal, I guess, is to do one every day. I don't know if that'll happen. It probably won't happen. But at least a few times a week, for sure. I mean, some days I probably won't have anything to talk about anyway. That's kind of where I am at the moment. That's my goal. That's what I'm going to kind of try and do with my life for the next 4 months. And then we'll see what happens when I leave for Ireland in January. And so, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy watching this, I guess, or following along with this journey. It's been a pretty crazy journey so far. But I think I still have a ways to go, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'll talk to you soon.